Coach McCarthy, thank you for sitting down with us here at the owners' meetings. For you specifically, I mean, now that you've had time to relax and kind of get settled back into Pittsburgh, how has it been driving to work, back home in Pittsburgh? How has that process been now?
I mean, the drive to work and home it's incredible. It's something that I don't even think you can dream about it because I'm literally driving the streets that I grew up on. So, you know, Greenfield Avenue, 2nd Avenue across the bridge and right down Water Street. So it's still a bit surreal. I'm loving every minute of it, but it's football. I mean, there's a lot of work to do. Year one is always the hardest year. You know, I've been through it a couple times. Been through it a couple times as an assistant. So really, we just have had our head down and just trying to grind and make sure we're ready to go when the players come back.
Obviously, this time of year, a lot of guys don't get into the building that frequently. That'll happen once OTAs start. But how important is it to kind of communicate and lean on veterans like a TJ Watt, a Cam Hayward and company to kind of impart kind of what the philosophy and your style is? How has that process been thus far?
I mean, it's very important. I mean, this Pittsburgh Steelers has an incredible history and tradition. You know, we're all aware of that, but also it does have a history of winning currently. So, and TJ and Cam are part of that. And, you know, I had early conversations with both men. They just want a chance to win it all before, you know, their career comes to an end. So very receptive. They just want to be part of the messaging, the new direction. So basically both said, hey, coaches, tell us what you want. So, and really everybody in that locker room currently, that's who will impact, you know, this upcoming season. The new players are very important, the veterans, get them acclimated. You know, then we got the rookie class, but these veterans, you know, they know the Pittsburgh Steeler way, and you know we're just taking a little different path. So you know we're not trying to change. We're not going to change colors. Yeah. We're not going to get new uniforms.
Yeah.
You know, so we want to build off all the greatness that's been here for decades.
And speaking of that, players coming back, you've added some quality free agents. And how did you identify and how was that process figuring out who those guys were and to go target and then, of course, acquire those players?
Yeah, definitely. I'm big in the play style and in physical profiles. So I think you see the common thread of everybody who we signed. I think it's a great addition to our roster. So we don't feel like we have to go into the draft and say, hey, we need this. We, you know, position-wise, we can really trust our board. We have a lot of picks. You know, this is Omar and I's first draft class together, so and I'm a believer in, you know, it's a program shift. Obviously, you know, Mike's had incredible success there for 19 seasons, so we want this to be a, you know, launching point for our new program.
Some of those additions we talked about, the physical profile. Michael Pittman, obviously, put him with DK Metcalf. That's a dynamic duo, but when you're talking about that group, it's an imposing group. And how exciting is it to have all these kind of big physical types on the offensive side of the ball?
You played there. I mean, it's a style play. The division, it's been that way for just watching them play in the 70s. So, you know, it's a style of football that we're going to play. So Michael, you know, DK, we, you know, learned from last year. We want to move these guys around. I think your perimeter targets, it's important for the quarterback to be conceptually ingrained to, you know, his footwork and understand the concept and the ability to move your perimeter pieces around to create matchups. So, you know, adding Michael gives us that flexibility.
A lot of questions have been asked about the quarterback position. Can you give us any insights to where we are with Aaron Rodgers right now?
Yes, I mean, Aaron and I have had continuous dialogue pretty much every week. And we'll continue to talk. He's, you know, looking at the different things that are going on in his life, and I would say he's in a very positive headspace. So we're kind of working through that, and we'll get a decision.
Steelers organization has not gone through changes very often, as you very well know. You know, just kind of talk about this time of year, the priorities when you're bringing in a whole new coaching staff, right? So you have a lot of new faces in there, and like you said, the veterans having the different impacts. But how is that? What's the priority this time of year with the new coaching staff, where you guys are at?
I mean, the focus has always been on the draft, player acquisition, veteran free agency, and the draft. So player acquisition and then scheme implementation. So that's really where we're finishing up. Defense is always a little further ahead than offense, a little more. Like I always tell defense guys, we got to tell you where to line up. So we got a little more to do. But so we're kind of wrapping that up right now because we want to be able to get it to the players through the phase 1 and 2 and make sure they're comfortable before we really can get out on the field and go full speed in OTAs.
that time of year, getting the guys back in the building really and in force with a group of guys, how important is that time of year, and what are you looking to accomplish in the OTA period?
Anytime you can have your whole football team together, I think is an important opportunity that you should try to take advantage of. So, yeah, when we get to the OTAs, we'll go to a little different format. We'll spend the first 2 phases, teaching everything conceptually, and then we get to OTAs. We'll do more installation type, first and second down, and try to exercise more of I would call it traditional install that that we've been part of. So, but we want to get as much teaching. As much teaching we possibly can throughout those OTAs.
And as the draft comes up, how involved is the coaching staff in the draft process, given, where we're at? How involved are they?
Very involved. I mean, our coaches have, we've written a lot of reports on a lot of draft picks, so I really like the collaboration between personnel and coaching. And I think at the end of the day, it's about getting that board ranked, getting the board right. And then we just got to have the discipline, trust the board, but yeah, I think the collaboration and really I like the way the personnel and coaches have been gelling.
Now, draft is in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, how about that?
Right there on the Three Rivers, or the confluence of Three Rivers, as my good buddy Craig Wolfley used to say. You have 12 picks. How do you approach your first draft as a head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers, knowing you have that type of capital at your disposal?
Patience and discipline. I've always looked at the draft, a lot like preparing a game plan for the Super Bowl. Just there's so much work that goes into that. You spent the whole year. I mean, these scouts have been banging on these guys for years. The amount of information that's collected and the ability to now bring it together. And let's not forget about the conversations that took place back in November and January. And when we get to the final grade, let's just trust it and bring them in. And then you cannot have enough good football players, Max. That's one thing I do know about this league. So.
Absolutely, and happy to have a good one leading that charge of you, Coach Brock. Thanks for taking the time to sit down with us.
Well, thank you. It's great visiting with you.
All right, appreciate it.